Yellow.
All right.
Good,
You're
good.
Are we on?
Hello?
We have to, once they tell us we're on.
Action, camera.
Life is good. Are we on? Well, you have to, okay. Are we online? All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. on February 17th, 2022, and this is a regular city council meeting. We do have a full quorum, all council members present, and I have asked Brad Elrod if he would please do our invocation, and we'll follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you'll bow your head and pray with me. Dear Father, we are thankful to be able to gather here today. Just thank you for another day to live on this earth that you've created for us to enjoy. God, I just ask that you be with us during this meeting. Bless our time together. Make it a beneficial time for the city, and be with the people who are making the decisions for the city. Be with them, lead and guide them, and be with each one of us as we leave here today, and give us safe travels home. It's in your Son Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did anyone sign up for communications from the audience? Is there anything online? Okay, moving right along to the consent agenda items. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone would like to have removed? Is there any objection to the adoption of the consent agenda? Okay, therefore it is adopted. We have a gentleman with us this evening. I'm going to move item number 10 up to the beginning of our agenda. It's considered for update discussion action for IT assessment agreement. We have, and I'm going to turn this over to Councilman Blackstone. I hate to do that, but.
That's okay. The whole thing was started with David Harrington's.
Get the mic close to your.
The whole thing was started with David Harrington's request to have an IT assessment, and it just kind of drug. And the thing that prompted me to get in touch with Michael Ramsey was CD having trouble with QuickBooks Online, and I was scratching my head about that and the IT assessment. So I contacted the city of Livingston and the city of Jasper, and talked to the assistant financial director and / city secretary of Jasper, and she gave me Mr. Ramsey's contact information. I reached out to him, and he came and sat down with Johnny Craven, CD, Jackie Black, and myself, and kind of started the process. He's gone back and put together a brochure for us to review, and Michael, if you would mind coming up and taking it from here. That's just a little background of how we came to be where we are right now.
Council, how are you? Again, I'm Michael Ramsey I'm the president of Mr. IT, IT organization out of Beaumont, and I'm really here to answer questions. We sat down for about an hour with the council folks that I talked about earlier, and basically here to answer questions and see where you are now, where you'd like to go. This is not it's very informal representation to find out basically where the city is at right now and where you want to go.
So if you could just perhaps begin to explain your thought process and what this presentation is all about.
The presentation I did push forward, and I sent to you electronically and such and in written form. It is basically a rapid assessment of overall seeing that I saw you were at. I did not actually go into your network, did not go into the actual computers themselves at this point, because it was more of just an initial basic assessment to say, you know what, you need a firewall. You should have this, you should have that for security, but this is really the roadmap to where you should be. Not saying in the next 6 weeks or 6 days, it should be even up to next 6 years. You need to future-proof yourself as a company, as a city, and make sure that you are keeping everything secure and all your own stuff, and including just keeping the network itself safe, and also making sure that any questions are answered that you guys have, really is the point. So it's about a 10-page documentation that I sent you guys, and it really is just an overview of some of the red points are things that I've really noticed that, yeah, these are things that probably should be looked at in the near future. Does not mean we have to fix every single thing by any means today, but it should be pushing forward to these things. And I kind of broke it down into different areas of everything from telephone or telepathy to security to virus and ransomware attacks to Wi-Fi, internet, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really easily, I try to make it as easy as to understand as possible.
That's good.
Is that an easy overview of what
It is. What I'd like is for you to walk us through
Each one?
the
Sure.
step by step and kind of explain it in the layman terms that you used with CD and myself.
And if I may, when you go through the process, what are the most critical needs that we need to do today?
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Well, that's part of the roadmap that he's laid out for us.
absolutely. So just starting off, the very first one is just internet security appliance, which is in layman's terms is a firewall. And a firewall is not your Windows firewall. It is an actual physical box that when your internet comes into the building or into the entity itself, that all bad traffic from the outside, in other words, people sitting in Nigeria and whatever else and around the world, because right now we have, let's say you have a storefront. People can walk in through the door physically. If you put a lock on the door, it stops everybody from coming through the door. But everybody can pick that lock if they know how to get in. So what you need to do is make sure you put up at least a firewall that is going to be like a solid door that you allow only the traffic in that you want.
Is that like encryption?
No. Encryption is actually a secondary piece. So encryption means that you're taking all actual real data, in other words, words, and encrypting it or creating a key on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what encryption is. So
Yeah.
that's if you have, let's say if you're moving an email from here out to somebody else, and you want it, and it has something that has any of your PPI or your personal information in it, social security numbers, bank account numbers, anything like that, that should be encrypted so that between here and whoever's receiving it, it's encrypted that nobody can actually break that information. And then a person on the other end then decrypts it by using a key, and usually it's all within software. And then all of a sudden you're saying, oh, here's my information I want. As simple as it gets. But a firewall is really to stop bad information from coming in here. But a lot of firewalls and internet security appliances will also include things like having web filtering, so anybody here is not going to the wrong sites. And we all done it. We just clicked in the wrong, retyped it wrong. We Google something or whatever it is, and all of a sudden we go to the wrong site and we're going, oh, that's not what I wanted. Well, if it's malicious, it definitely can stop you from, it can bring a lot of bad information back into your system, create ransomware, et cetera, et cetera. Questions about that? So that's really the first piece of the appliance.
So that's the hardware, that's the first line of defense physically as far as hardware is concerned, that is the gatekeeper in and out of folks that are going to access.
Yes, exactly.
Very good.
So the second piece you have for that is going to be for on each workstation or each laptop that you have within that everybody is using here. You need to also make sure that you have software taxes and security patches are up to date. You need to have the operating system itself up to date, your software up to date, because all these companies out there, including Windows, Microsoft, Apple, whoever else, South Winds or whatever software company you're using or into it, they all find security glitches and they send out updates. Well, you have to make sure that these things are being updated, otherwise you're just as open as being, having an open door again, like an open window, if I say it that way. So that's the second one, and that's where the second piece on here says manage DNS, and what that means is if you're using a public DNS, and DNS simply means if you
Where's
type
that?
in the second box. So
Oh,
the very
oh,
first box is internet.
I see.
The second was manage DNS. The DNS is meaning that we have domain name is what it means. So basically, so the internet and everything computer-wise does not actually understand any word. So you type in a word, it becomes a number. That's as simple as it gets. So your address on your house number is now the number that it knows you need to go to, okay? So when you're typing in Google, you're actually going to a house number per se, if that makes sense, okay? And what DNS does is it's the translator. So if you're using a public DNS and you're trying to send things through from here out, then you need to, that just gives another open door for somebody else to basically take information. So managed DNS means something in-house, and it'll be on a server or another piece of software here that actually basically translates for you before it sends out, if that makes sense. Okay. Antivirus, anti-spam, ransomware filters, those kind of things in the next few boxes, content filtering, those are again, all the things that you really should have in place. That's just a first and second line of defense. So the firewall itself is everything coming in, and the antivirus and such is making sure that anything in here that has come in is bad, I should say, automatically gets snuffed out.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's all the software end of it.
That's the software end of it, yes.
Very good.
And having a managed antivirus is truly critical in these days, because you gotta make sure that somebody is watching over it, because otherwise it has to be updated, it has to be watched, and so if something happens and it does catch something, you need to make sure that it's actually taken care of and managed for you, instead of you worrying, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Who's going to manage that?
We do, for instance, absolutely. So we actually have a portal that comes in. So if we put on an antivirus that's managed here, all of that, and it just constantly, it says it's all green lighted the whole time until something happens. Then immediately the software reacts. It can either shut down your machine because it knows there's something bad on it, so nobody else gets encrypted or gets ransomware or anything like that. And then we are alerted, and then we can automatically either fix it immediately over the lines, or we can contact you and say, we gotta come on site and see what to do about that. So it's managed means we are taking care of it. So it is from the cloud standpoint.
So you guys, essentially, you guys real-time monitor the condition and state of our units.
All the time.
Excellent.
Yes, 24/7. And then the next few is just really, things like endpoint encryption, which is, again, that's more for your laptop that you're taking out of here. So you have any kind of city information on it, or any kind of financial information, and you take it from here and you walk out the door and go home. If somebody steals it, physical theft, it is as good as gold for them, because they can pull anything off there unless it's encrypted. If the actual drive itself is encrypted, that means everything on there is absolutely no good to them, because it'll be just gibberish.
Would that be the same with any emails that might have spreadsheets on them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And then the next box, the last box on that particular page that's of interest is going to be the emergency response plan, and that's really going to be your backups, your making sure that your information that you have now is safe at all times, including if you have a tornado, fire, and that always goes down to not just a natural disaster, but also off to the side of, it can be anything from ransomware or an actual digital disaster as well. So it's good to always have, that's one of the number one things I do teach companies, that you need to have an emergency response plan and understand where you are now and where you should be. And I can help you write it, or I can obviously give you, points, and you guys sit down and start hammering it out yourself.
I wish CD had been here tonight, but he had another engagement of some kind, and he's said that we have most of our information in a cloud now.
Okay.
But that doesn't answer or address
Well, okay, so,
all
yeah,
the
so
different PCs we have running on their own.
Correct. But again, emergency response is so to make sure that the city is still running, whether you have a disaster or not. That's really the biggest part of that.
Okay.
You gotta make sure that, you know, if freak storm that kind of gets all the way up here from the coast and starts flooding out, we gotta make sure that you guys know what to do and how to make sure everything's safe when you walk out of here and that the city can continue to run.
So, Mike, does that get into how we manage our data as far as project files that we're working on automatically saving and backing up to redundant drives that are remote, so that if, for instance, if city, God forbid, something cataclysmic happened and City Hall burned to the ground with all the computers in it, we could still log in and recover and go on about business and keep operating and supporting our community?
You can definitely go.
Okay, very good.
Absolutely. The next one is, on the next page over, is security awareness training. That's really going to be a as-needed basis. So it's basically, so I'm doing a security awareness training right now, talking to you guys and just saying, hey, look, this is what I believe you should do. You should be aware of what security is, how it works with you. I mean, each department and each person that works here, you need to make sure that your job is being done this way so that we can understand that it is secure and it is up to date at all times, if that makes sense. So we just do, and it's just random, and everything from security awareness can be explaining how ransomware works is a good one. That's a buzzword out there right now, which is a big deal. Viruses work, how the cloud works, all that kind of stuff. So you guys, so it becomes layman terms to you and understand it. You don't need to be IT to understand all this stuff. It is really, that's my job, per se, to explain it to you. So, and those are just things that should be done on a regular basis. So you have, maybe once a month, you have some sort of a little training, whether it be a 5-minute email that goes out, or you go through a PowerPoint, or any of those kind of things that would just basically go over some one piece and say, oh, now I know. So, workstations and servers, that is really, so part of your city actually is working off laptops. Some are working off of actual physical workstations. I saw in there was a couple of them just sitting on the floor, weren't sure what they were doing there. I don't know, you know what I mean? So that's a liability to you guys as well, because if they have any city information that's just sitting there, it could have theft, you could have actual destroying of the data that's on it, and all that kind of things. Those are things that need to be addressed as well, just in the near future kind of thing. Doesn't mean you have to have a server on site, but if you do, it beefs up security about threefold. So you add on, because only certain people can log on, and it creates, so not everything is just on your laptop or your laptop, and so we can now do a sharing kind of thing.
So those would be hardwired.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, they would be. We can have some Wi-Fi, we can have a hybrid, so we can have some some Wi-Fi and some hardwired, but whenever you hardwire, it does become much more secure because you can't break the cable and see what's in between, but Wi-Fi, it's a signal out here and it's outside this building. So as long as it's encrypted Wi-Fi, or if it's managed Wi-Fi, then it's okay.
Got
But,
you.
You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
and it's a lot it's a lot faster to go wired as well. So, any questions so far? Are we just going through this?
Yes, you're doing fine.
Good.
Thank you.
VPN, virtual private network, all that means is creating a virtual tunnel. So basically any information passing from one point to another is encrypted or is secure, like a tunnel, okay?
So without a VPN or firewall, our internet provider is able to see every piece of traffic that comes and goes?
Well, yes, if they got into it, yes, they could.
Okay.
Yes, overall. But it's being managed, so I don't know, we didn't get into that too much of how it is being managed right now, but I know you have one internet provider up here that is sending a wireless signal to you.
Yes, sir.
If you, Skip, you take your laptop home, for instance, and you want to connect back into the office, or you want to send something, it really should be done through a VPN, so that way any traffic between your house and here is completely secure. That's really where VPN's been.
And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but really the way to do that is only that way because the data should all be saved either on the server or whatever centralized location is. Otherwise, if it's saved on a personal laptop that somebody's taking home, then there's the risk of losing or having that data stolen.
That's exactly.
So standard policy in an organization such as this really should be that everything goes back to the server. That way you've got redundancy, you've got recovery, you've got security.
Exactly.
Very good.
Exactly.
I just recently signed up to Surfshark.
Okay, yeah. And that is just a public VPN. There's a lot of those out there, but I would suggest if you're gonna, most firewalls, actual physical firewalls, come with VPN service on them. So
Okay.
basically you are licensed, so basically it's VPNing into the firewall here, so it's as if you're sitting, even though if you're sitting on the beach in California, you can log in and you're.
So we would have an ID and a password, and then we would be able to control the
Exactly.
users.
Yes, and even though it's being passed around the country, but it's all encrypted, so it
Yeah.
is actually within a virtual tunnel, so it's as if you're sitting here in the office. Password management, that goes along with part of the other pieces we went before, which is the security awareness training and such. Making sure that we have passwords that change. That's a large one, and a lot of more softwares are actually going, a lot of new softwares are going to, including Windows, is going to a passwordless system. So they're doing some sort of either a thumbprint recognition, it can be some sort of facial recognition, it can be that kind of thing, and they're trying to get around passwords because passwords are so terrible about people going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my password, or password is my password, and it's easy to break, and that's the biggest thing about that. So if you have a password policy that says every 60 days your passwords have to change and it has to be this many characters, et cetera, it's just a rule within your system that can be automated, that automatically change, everybody has to do it, and it remembers your password until we get to a passwordless system, or we move to that, which can be also a smart card or something like that. Those are these are different realms you can go into, but right now, for you guys, I think you should really move to at least a password policy that says every 60 days or every 90 days, these passwords have to change, especially because you do it in your banks, you do it in your credit cards, you do it every time you go online, everything changes. Make sure it's all different. Two-factor authentication is really, that's multi-factor authentication. And I'm sure anybody who's logged into their bank, a lot of times they know what that is. You have to, oh, my phone just dinged, and I now have a code that I have to put in. That meaning that only you punch in your password, but now you have to have a secondary type of authentication into it. And we can do the same thing in here as well. So that way we know that only you are logging into your system, or you are logging into your system, and nobody else. Because if you get a notification that says, even email is a good one. So if you log into your email system on the cloud, you're gonna get a notification if it's set up to say, is this you? And you say, here's my number, 4, 5, whatever the number is, and then so it knows it, and it changes every 12 seconds. Employee productivity monitoring, that kind of goes along with firewall, web-based, or web filtering, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, that's just making sure that anybody doing a job here isn't just wasting the taxpayer's dollar, should I say it that way. We all have some downtime, and I understand that, but what you're doing during that downtime shouldn't be on city business, and that's my opinion. And so we push for making sure that nobody's going to the wrong things, they're not surfing things like, and I hate to say, but like porn or gambling sites or things like that during work hours or on a network here, because it also creates massive security glitches within our system, because nobody wants to bring that bad stuff in, and two, it just is a waste of time for the city to be paying. The last one I actually put down on that one was the dark web monitoring, and that's just kind of a dark web, and people have heard of the dark web, and it is a real thing. So there's a lot of credit card numbers out there, there's a lot of people's passwords out there, they're bought and sold every day. So we do give a service that we go through, and we actually constantly watch for your password, your name, your address, all that kind of information out on the dark web, and it knocks back to us if we ever had a hit. And we just let you know, you need to change this and this and this, because it's now being sold somewhere out there on the dark web, and that's really all it is. It's just a monitoring service. We already talked about backup and disaster recovery, because that's, so if we had everything on a central server here, and that would be what we'd be backing up. So that way each laptop and each computer really has nothing on it that would go bad if it went down. If somebody threw a hammer on his laptop right there, you know.
Cup of coffee.
Okay, no, nothing's gonna happen because we know all of the information that you had for the city is definitely on the server here, and that's being backed up at least 2 to 3 times. One in the cloud, one on site, so we don't ever have loss, and we can have redundancy as well, so in retention rates as well. So we can say, for the past 12 months, this would happen, and I can still go ahead and go back and recover it. We talked about cabling, we talked about ENF records. That was kind of, I think I doubled that actually. WAN redundancy and failover, that's kind of a, that's if you have, so you have one ISP or one internet service provider in here right now. If you had a second one, it would help in your disasters, only if that went down, you still have access to the internet. That's all that is. So it's something to think about. Doesn't mean you have to do it by any means, but at least you would have more than one way of communicating with the world outside. Hosted Exchange email is like Office 365. When they actually are holding your emails or everything passing through it. Right now, I know you each have a Gmail account, I believe it is, correct? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it right now, okay.
Yeah.
Gmail's good, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna say that, but it's not professional, A. And B, you already have a website, which is cityofivanhoe dot, oh my gosh, what is it? .gov, isn't it?
I think so. I think
It's
so.
a .gov, yeah.
Okay, so if it's a .gov, that means you own that
Domain.
And so, yeah, you own the domain, exactly. So not just the website, but the domain name itself. So you can attach email addresses to that. So then we can have S. Blackstone or C. Bennett or at cityofivanhoe.gov or whatever it is. So
That would be a good thing. That would be a good thing.
Yeah. And we can host all of that up on like Office 365 or some other sort of a cloud service like that, if that makes sense. What else did we talk about? Going, we got scalability and switching and servers. We already talked about those. So switching really is making, if we're going to wire up the building, we need to make sure we have secure switching so that nobody else can get in and actually see it or route traffic somewhere else that's not supposed to be in, et cetera, et cetera. So you guys own what you have. That's really the biggest thing. Managed wireless, that's the last, and that is managed wireless is the last one, which is, so far, I put that as a green on your sheet, because right now it is being managed. And so, the ISP provider actually put in wireless here in the building, and it is being managed, so it is, but I don't know how well, obviously. But from just what I looked at during our original meeting, it's being managed by him, so that's all I know. But I don't think anybody here actually has any management to it, and they should be. Somebody on site should be, within the city of Ivanhoe, should be the ones that are actually being able to actually change anything if they want. So that's kind of the overall, I did go through, I threw a couple of splash pages and some ideas of some estimates about 2 or 3 of these parts, like the firewall, what I think you should get for, just as a suggestion for the beginning about the cost, that it's gonna do to actually buy the hardware itself. Did you have any questions about this? So I mean, that's really the overall of what I put together.
Yeah, so we kind of have an idea where we are. Your assessment, our total score came to 33 on all the things that you covered. So this is a roadmap. The rest of this is a roadmap of where we need to be and how we'll get there.
At least the starting of it, yes.
So what are the initial expenditures that we would obviously need to do quickly?
What should we do today?
Yeah.
To do today, first off, we can either come back and we can actually do a full assessment and take a look, but I think the first thing you really should do is have a physical firewall. That's really number one.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that before.
Yes.
I'm asking that for the benefit of the rest of the
really,
people.
Because that would include the 2 different parts of it. It would include your VPN service, and we can set that up, and that's included in the firewall cost. And plus, it would basically stop you from having an open door to the internet. And that's,
So is that the $1,300 that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's for the hardware. So I mean, and setting it up is going to be, It's a couple $100, really. I mean, $200 to $300, just time and material to actually just come up here and actually make sure it's all set up correctly.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
Very
you-
large box, and
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that your charge was $85 an hour with a 2-hour minimum if you have to drive up here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, for our company itself, we do probably about 85% of our services remotely. So that is a good thing for you. I mean, we jump on, if somebody calls and has a problem, as long as it's not, I can't turn on my PC or I can't turn on the internet, well, those things I'd have to obviously come here before it gets down. But outside of that, we do a lot of things actually remotely. So it's a huge plus for everybody here because, you know, you're not going to pay that minimum 2 hours, et cetera, and plus we get things done within an hour.
So the rate is the same?
Yes, it's $85 just as it's for the first hour.
Yeah, okay.
Per hour. Any questions? I know I kind of chit-chat back and forth.
Well, okay, so,
Well, you're speaking to us in terms that we can understand.
Absolutely, I'm trying to.
all right, so we start with a firewall.
Yes.
Then where do we go?
I think a good place to go after that would be definitely the trying to do an Office 365 or a cloud-based email service, and we utilize your domain name that you already have, and so that way we can actually move your emails over to it, because that's going to be a lot more. That's 100 times more secure than just using Gmail.
And more professional?
Absolutely.
And that'd be the 3,360?
Yes, I believe that's what it is. No, I think 3,000. 3,000, yes, I'm sorry, yes. That's including, and we'd also be backing it, also put in an Office 365 backup, so we'd actually putting everything to the cloud. It'd be passing through Microsoft and their secure servers and such, and they would actually be taking care of it, and plus, also we'd be backing up that and keeping retention. So if you do delete an email or delete a calendar or something like that, or somebody leaves, we can go ahead and just go back and say, well, here's the emails that they had, and now you have retention for up to 12 months.
That's been one of the concerns with the Gmail account is that if someone, you know, gets mad and goes home, they take their Gmail account with them and we have no record of it from that point on.
So you should own your email as a
Yes.
city.
See, we've experienced that already.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So these two things, the firewall
Yes.
and the,
Firewall, email, and then definitely you should look at doing antivirus here. Making sure that you have a platform across. If you're already using some sort of an antivirus that is not managed, but you're making sure that everything's updated on every single PC, I think that's okay for now, but you really should get it managed.
so that's $4,700
Yes. Yeah.
ballpark,
Yeah, ballpark.
Yep.
with
$75.
not,
Plus-
not including the labor.
That's correct. So about 5,000. Yes.
So if we have a cloud account now, I don't know where it would be, but would we be able to migrate that information to this cloud if we moved in that direction?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Everything's moving.
Okay.
So if we did the Microsoft 360, then we go to our own domain, then we go to Microsoft Outlook
Yes.
as our email,
Right.
and then we have all the Excel, the PowerPoint,
That's correct.
and the Word within that platform.
And this is all new equipment, it's not refurbished or bought on eBay or,
No, the hardware would be anything we take care of. It's always brand new. Absolutely. Latest and greatest. For the Office 365, that's obviously just software.
So, yeah.
And it's always being updated as well. So that's the beauty of the product.
so is the software fee-based or is it a one-time purchase?
Oh, it's annual.
Oh, it's an annual purchase
Annual
per user?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it'd have probably an annual, our annual cost,
So if you did, the annual cost for like antivirus is approximately $700. $650. And that's for the 10 units that I have, or 10 users. I only guessed on that one because I think we talked about, we kind of went through our heads and I remember this person, whoever actually would be
Yep,
logging
right,
into it, yeah. So
yeah,
it's approximately
yeah.
10. Obviously, it's just per person, so it's whatever needs to be done.
So if we had do we have to buy them individually or can we buy them as
No,
a?
it's a managed group. So we say,
So if we add a person later on, it's just a,
That's just a one person
okay.
extra.
So we're looking at probably $3,100 annually for Microsoft 360,
Yes, yes,
and then for an annual prescription.
right.
Okay. And that would get us started,
That would get you started, absolutely.
and then we can build from there.
That's my whole point behind any of this. I think you should need to have a roadmap to where you're going and start looking at the future and say, okay, here's the 10 things we want to do in the next 4 years. And then we have a 4-year plan, and we say in the first year, we're gonna have this much of our budget, and so I know, money's never unlimited, I wish it was, from
Yeah.
my standpoint, but, from a company standpoint, you guys need to make sure you know, this is how much we can allocate. I will work with you, our company will make sure that we can stay within your budget as much as possible, and keep it simple, but yet moving it as far forward as you can.
Okay, I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. I come up with a total around $4,000 a year annual cost.
So the security and compliance, which is 1,300, that is, you have each year the 459 only, or the 469, 465. The 744 is a one-time cost. It's on the first one that has just the security appliance. Okay. But you have the auto renewal, and that's the web filtering and the actual making sure the software on the box itself is updated. So you have 465. I didn't add all this up. I apologize for that. And then your 3,300 would be for your email and backups annual for 10 people. Right there, you're talking your annual is
3825.
yeah, there you go. And then the one time, and that'd be those two pieces right there. And then we also talked about the antivirus, which is approximately $650 for the year, for 10 years.
For how long?
If you add those three together,
For how long?
per year, once a year. And I can break this down, actually, I can charge a lot of this to you only once a month, if it would be easier for you. I put annual plans in here, and it'd be just basically divided by 12, and I can build it out.
So I'm gonna, if council doesn't mind, I'm gonna refocus us just for a brief moment. The original notion on this agenda item was focused on getting an assessment of our IT infrastructure and developing a strategy to get us to where we need to be in the future. Lots of the things that you've covered tonight and that we've talked about and that we've asked questions about, we know their needs. Most of us don't know how to get there. I certainly don't know how to take us there. I'm familiar with lots of terminology, and I've worked at large corporations and had to work with IT. Thank God they were there because I couldn't have pulled it off, which is why we've asked somebody like yourself here. With that in mind, as a municipality, as a government agency, we have lots of layers of concern that I feel that we really need to address as part of the strategy. We have legal compliance issues, we have data security, continuity of government, all of these different aspects, and each of our different work groups interfaces on those levels in a different way. Law enforcement manages things in one way, public works another, our courts in a different way. And so to me, it makes really good sense. Yes, there are some of these services and pieces of assessing where we are and marrying that up with where we need to be and break that down into tiers of things that we absolutely have to do, whether it be for compliance or security or just to be able to function properly, because there's some things that we don't function properly on. And we have challenges on each of those different levels. My notion is if we could get from you an estimate as to what the cost would be for a full-blown assessment of our current IT and communications infrastructure and presented to us in a way that says, here's the emergency, here's the red boxes that absolute must, whether it be for legal compliance or security reasons, and then break it out into segments of price that are either associated with one-time fees or annual cost. and make it real clear. And this is just my suggestion in front of council, and it's up for question or debate. This is just my notion of things. That way we can see where we are, where our gaps are, where we need to be, and then potentially even look at layering some services that would be value added to our community or to our staff that would either improve functionality or people, being able to do their jobs with less effort. So that's my notion is that we focus this evening on getting that actual complete roadmap and assessment completed so that we really know, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but if you just start addressing problems, it's kind of like, well, here's an example. This is might be a terrible example. Last year we had a horrible freeze. I'm in construction, and we went out and we started patching pipes. And every time that we would patch a pipe somewhere, we'd turn the water back on, we'd see 3 more things open up over here. And my concern is that we address something without addressing everything in a sequence that really is cumulative towards getting to where we want to be, and we wind up losing ground along the way without a really clear roadmap of where we're going.
Well, it feels like that we're kicking the can down the road once again.
I know that it may seem that way, but Mike, is it easier for you if you have a complete strategy in mind and a complete roadmap of where we're trying to go?
We should sit down and actually do figure at least a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan, absolutely, and say here are our key points that we should look at and go for, and where do we want to go, and then we can say in each year this is what we need to do, absolutely.
And you can, your firm can handle looking at areas of compliance that we may need as a city government and things like that, and manage all of that into the strategy so that we know that all of our bases are covered. Because part of the challenge that we have here, as we admitted from the get-go, is that none of us are IT professionals. None of us want to be IT professionals. Honestly, none of us should be IT professionals. We have other jobs and other projects and other things that we're working on and that we need to put our energies towards. And so we need someone like yourself that communicates well and clearly and in terms that we understand, which is really nice, really, really nice. Thank you.
Do you do that for the city of Jasper now?
I do.
And any other cities?
We have done it. I've done it for other organizations as well, including I do audits for, there's been law firms, large law firms, for accounting firms, CPA firms, et cetera. And I go in and I do a full audit. It's usually a 2-day audit, and I say, here's what you are lacking, this is what you're, and it's very similar to what I did here, except for it's much more in depth. And I actually scan everything, I look at everything. We go through what you already have on the books. And it's usually a 2 to 3 day process. It's intuitive, and it kind of, I break it down as much as possible. I can get obviously into your compliance as well to make you feel, make sure that we're in each department is doing it, but I will work with you to do that.
So right now, I think we have bootleg computers, we have bootleg Microsoft Office,
I think we have possibly unofficial licensing. I don't know what that's.
well, that's illegal, actually, to be using unofficial or unlicensed software.
That's very true.
So we're operating illegally. We also have computers that the FBI is wanting to confiscate because they're stolen equipment. We've got to do something, and it was you that brought it to the table to begin with, and I think that we need to drive a stake in the ground and move forward.
So if you'd like to have a more of an in-depth, we can schedule later this month and then come circle back around next council meeting if you'd like to do that.
Just, I'm gonna make this statement open in public, but I'm talking to you, Skip.
That's fine.
I like Mike. I like Mike a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm in support of Mike. I still think that the right first decision, the right first step, is to do an assessment so that we know exactly where we are, so that he can do the best job for us possible and build the network that we need.
No, I agree completely with you.
And if we want to go ahead and
I don't know that installing a firewall is going to change whatever the assessment is going to be.
no, and it may not, and maybe we go ahead and get a firewall just so we have a bouncer at the door, so to speak. Essentially,
yeah.
that's what it
I
is.
think that we should do a firewall and change over to the Microsoft 365.
You-
and
you-
get our own domain, and then move forward from there, and then not say, well, okay,
Then-
wait a minute,
then you
here we
do your
are,
assessment.
you're
Yeah, we can do it, we can do a rolling assessment. So as we're starting to move things forward, we can check them off the boxes and say, now let's dive a little bit deeper into these. Because you really need to make sure you do not have an open door or an open window.
And we have a big open door right now with the way we're,
And I'm completely fine with that. That makes
mean,
good
but then
sense
we
to me.
put
I
the
just don't,
brakes-
I don't want to bypass a proper assessment and strategy structuring.
Oh, I completely agree with you.
and I like a date and a cost figure with an annual
Will.
figure.
Will.
Oh, and one other thing that I have a question about is the server.
Okay?
Where would they be located?
Well, the server, you can either have one or two places. Either one, you have one on site, or you have a cloud server. You can
Okay.
either do one or either or.
The reason I ask that is a company that I work for, the home office was in Galveston, Texas. And when Ike came through there, it took out all the computer and all the information.
Absolutely.
And so when they rebuilt the facility, the servers went 2 stories up.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't happen again. So that's the reason I asked that question, is will they be protected wherever they go?
So,
Then there's also Helena Labs.
and that's ransomware and things like that. So the thing about the server is you can have a physical server. Yes, you can have it on, 2 feet off the ground. If you have the physical one here, but as long as you're having backups that are true, full backups of everything that's on that server, whether the water rises to the ceiling or not, it doesn't really make any difference because we can turn around and have you back up and running within less than 6 hours. That's the same thing.
That's
We turn it up, because we'd say, okay, here's your image of your entire server. Last time it backed up, which was 3 hours ago, now we're gonna turn it up, and now everybody's gonna connect to it. And it's actually in the cloud in either 1 or 2 different places, redundant out in the cloud.
And that'd be my suggestion as far as part of the assessment is how are we protected within,
And that's something actually we brought to Jasper, the city of Jasper as well. So yes, we put in brand new servers. We had redundant servers in there. So we have 2 of them actually. One is copying to the other one. So if something happens physically to one of them, the second one picks it up. Then we go from there. We're then making full images to a backup server in the cloud. So we have at least 3 to 4 times every single piece of equipment or every single piece of software that they have, and their latest data. And last time somebody punched the keys in, it automatically is backed up at least 3 times.
There used to be a company called Tandem Computers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I used to sell to them, huh?
They did that.
No, Tandem.
Oh, Tandem, yes.
Not
yes,
Tandy,
yes.
Tandem
Yeah,
Computers.
Tandy was great at that. You're right.
So what's the motion, gentlemen? Okay, so I'll go for it. I make a motion that we go ahead and contract with Mr. Mike here to secure a firewall and to establish our city email addresses linked to our domain account with the next follow-on service being a full assessment and strategy construction. But we will need an estimate for that component. You've delivered estimates on the other 2.
So you're adding Microsoft 365 in that as well?
That's the email one, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
And
right,
then
all right.
the antivirus is the only third one that you guys have
Now-
talked about, but it's
Now,
no.
the first two.
you may wind up doing some assessment in process as part of that. Licensing on operating systems could be diverse because each station is in different stages and has different configurations. So we may have to look at that as part of getting the Office 365 and the emails spun up properly.
I'll
So,
second that motion.
go ahead.
Okay, any further discussion?
We might check with the American Rescue Plan Act. They may pay for some of this. We send that to the grant administrator. They may pay for some of it or all of it.
Communications is listed as a
So-
viable.
Yes, Tom is.
And I don't know if we've spent any of that money yet or not, but if we send it to them, we may be able to do the whole thing ASAP.
Well, I would like to know, if we contract with you, is there an annual fee for your services? Just software and hardware and hourly fixes if we need it?
automatically included in within whatever, so if you have an annual contract with Microsoft, it is just going through me, and I take $1 off the top, basically, so really.
Right. Well, I would like to know upfront what our cost is going to be for the things that they've talked about already, so that we can make a fair judgment. I mean, if it's 5,000 is one thing, if it's 35,000, it's, just like to know. the figure.
So on the Microsoft Office 365, which is now, you've got 10 users on here, that,
That's not enough.
Might be less.
No, it's more.
I think we're closer to 14
Yeah, I think
or so.
Also, our court and our police, they're on separate systems. That would be included, is that right?
However you want to do it, absolutely.
I mean,
That's up to you, yes.
I don't know. We'd have to ask.
Well, as a footnote, he's familiar with the software that,
Cop Sync or whatever it's called.
I believe, didn't you, CopSync?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, it was the,
I think Jackie went through it real quick with me.
Tyler Technology is what Jasper uses, but we use CopSync. Okay.
But we're looking at basically the same software, the same, everything else is,
Yeah.
the server and all that. Okay.
So the first item and foremost is the firewall and the firewall software. $744 for the purchase of the firewall, plus a couple $100 to install it. The $465.99 for the software is a recurring annual fee, correct? So we're looking at about $1,500 or so to get that up and running, and then a recurring $465 per year.
So when we talked initially, we talked about the IT assessment, you said it would be 3 or 4 hours? Less than,
The full assessment, if you want me to get into the nets and actually
Yeah.
set up a plan for you and all that stuff, it's usually about 2 days.
Okay.
So it's really around $2,000.
Okay.
I think general charges are depending on how long it is, because I really do it on a per basis, or a per unit basis, and it's usually about $2,000 to $3,000, just depending on how in-depth we go. And then I can set up whatever reports you want, and actually, give you any information that I find, absolutely.
And with what you know already, those 2 days, how much time would you need to spend with, let's say, CD or Jackie or those kind of people that actually work in the office?
Oh, a couple hours each. Yeah,
Okay.
and just 2
So I can tell you, CD
Yeah.
will be lucky to get
Yeah,
2
I
hours.
know.
Nothing personal, I mean, he's up to here.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
And
he'll have to-
Jackie's
we'll have to
here.
bring a brown paper bag for him to breathe into.
That's right. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll work around anybody's schedule. I mean, and it doesn't all have to be all at the same time. I can come back 3 or 4 times before we get the whole assessment. It's not a problem.
Okay.
I'll schedule with you.
Mike, as far as, and we haven't really spoken about this end of it yet, it's something that will probably follow on with the assessment and long-term strategy, but as far as continuation of service and monitoring and maintenance, like patches, and when we have an issue and we have to call in, is all of your service on an hourly basis, or do you offer monthly plans where, for instance, as many times as we want to call on a particular unit, it's $75 a
I
month?
do have monthly plans as well.
Okay.
So that would be
It
like,
really depends. I do form them to, I have a basic plan with including everything kind of thing, and all the way down to a much smaller plan that says it works better for your budget.
so I know that the city of Jasper just signed a contract with you. I don't know anything other than that. That's what they told me. They've been using you for a number of years, and
Yes, exactly. It's an annual contract. It's a 2-year minimum up front, and then 1 year every year it just auto renews. It is paying out. They are generally around $125 per person per month.
Per user per month?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's all inclusive?
That gives you on-site and remote access, or not access, excuse me, remote or on-site service included. So that $85 goes out the window, except for special projects. So if you say, hey, I want you to come in and recable the entire building, that is a specific project.
That's different.
That's not part of
Big
the
project.
package.
But in day-to-day, then that would include anything, and anybody calls me, and the company goes in, we also monitor at all times. We do all the patch management with that. We include, actually on that, we actually include Office 365 as well on top of it.
Didn't you say you guarantee an hour turnaround time to
Yes.
get us back up?
So we have, yes, yeah, exactly. So there's 4 levels or 4 tiers of how priority the call is. And if obviously if somebody's down or their job cannot be done, it's fixed or at least on site within 1 hour to get it up and running. And if it's something that's kind of a nuisance, but it's, et cetera, it's a 4 to 6 hours, depending on what it is. And then obviously any other call has to be done within 1 day, 24 or basically the next business day after the holiday or whatever it is.
And I assume you offer where we can just call in and you bill us hourly. Can we buy a pool of hours per month where we say we want?
You save 10% if you actually buy up to, and you start off like with 20 hours.
Mhm.
Then automatically it's a 10%.
Okay, very good. Real quick, on the Office 365 pricing, do these numbers include the actual hours to install and upgrade and get everybody's, okay, so if you had to ballpark on number of hours there,
14 people helping you out with moving your domain and such, I mean, you're talking probably 5 to 6 hours.
so roughly $510, and recalculated with 14 users, which I think is probably closer, that puts us at around 48.55 or so for that component. So 48.55 plus 1,500 on the firewall. We're looking at about $6,400 in investment that we've got a motion on at the moment. That's to cover those two things for 14 users, assuming that we don't have more or less than that.
Okay. You have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Oh,
No,
wait a minute,
wait.
Dominic.
I know this is redundant, but I would like to see a formal proposal of the expenses that we're going to be paying up front for the survey and all these other things that we're looking at, rather than just a guesstimation of $6,400. So I would ask you to make the motion change to
Well-
include that.
The estimates are included in the back of
I know
there.
that, but I'm just saying, that there may be some other charges we don't know, 14 people, 13, 12. I'd rather see a formal proposal from Mr. IT, and I'd vote for it with the stipulation that we get that.
Okay, so you're asking that the motion be revised
Yes.
contingent upon a revised estimate that includes all labor, the proper number of units that we need to have done so that we can have a complete cost delivered. Is that what you're asking for,
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
I'll go for that. I amend my motion to include contingent upon revised estimates for the proper number of units and inclusive of labor and any additional costs that may be necessary.
I'll second that motion.
You were the one that seconded in the first place? Okay.
So I've got one other. Are you able to nail down the number of hours to be able to put it in?
It'll be close.
Okay.
There's, because there's.
I know. So there's,
a particular operating system and they have problems trying to install it. and
Right. That's-
Another extra hour. I mean, but I can put down to probably within a 20% ballpark.
so minimum number of hours, maximum number of hours,
Sure.
perhaps?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
So that way we'll have,
Absolutely.
okay.
And how soon can you get that to us?
Tomorrow? No. Probably first part of next week.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking, we keep delaying this to the next city council meetings, next city council. My personal thoughts is I would like to get something concrete, and even if we have to hold a special meeting to get this moving
Well,
forward.
I don't think that the way Tommy presented it and the way the motion was presented is that it holds anything up.
Right.
We're moving forward, we're driving a stake in the ground, and we're agreeing to move forward with the understanding that you're going to come back with something in hard copy that gives us a better definite idea of the dollars.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure, okay.
All you have to do is just
Was-
respond back at that point if you want to do a special council or however you want to do it. If you
No, I
want
think we'll be
come back to me
good.
and say it's good to go and we're good to go.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at, what you're looking at doing for us is what we want. I just want to make sure that we're covered with finances.
Oh, and I think that we are. I think we are.
Well-
I agree with you, Tommy. Good point. Thank you.
I do have a tendency to over-exaggerate my hours sometimes, so all of a sudden it takes me 1 hour.
Oh,
I
Under promise, over deliver.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
All right. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your time.
You earned it, sir.
All right. Whew. Moving
Any
right
further
along.
discussion? Any further discussion?
Let's see. It's going to be a long
David,
night.
you have a question?
Always.
Mayor's report, I'm going to, everybody noticed CD is not here, and I think it's probably the first meeting I've had without CD, so I'm in withdrawal, and I'm hoping he's having a great time. Everybody, the IPOA came up with these wonderful displays of projects that they have accomplished in the past year, and we decided to leave them up here so people could look at them. It's really impressive. They've done a lot of work, and take time to look at it. Our front sign is functioning. Holly Wells is, she learned how to use that software within 10 minutes, and it took Chris 2 days to figure out Welcome to Ivanhoe. And it went so slow.
If we could just figure out how to make it scroll
Right,
up.
right. And we're in, like I said, a learning curve.
Couldn't
We
maybe
had
go
to stop
diagonal?
to read all three of them, so, we're learning, and it's getting better, and thank heavens it's working. I want to thank Skip for the effort that he put in as far as that pole barn is concerned. It is fabulous. If you haven't gone by our laydown yard, look at it. And it came in under both of the estimates for simply the roof, and it's got sides and everything.
Good job, Councilman.
Let's see. Garage sale is coming up, and we're going to be, this is because people are watching, hopefully. Start bringing your stuff in as of Monday. And we're looking forward to another successful year, and we have a lot of fun. If anybody wants to volunteer, we're going to be here from 9 to 2 every day, right, John?
Yes.
And we can always use volunteers, so come and get to know people. It's lots of fun, and we buy each other's junk. Let's see, we had a call today about the $5 million grant application that we put in on January 18th, actually. And they were asking some questions. They're supposed to have the scoring out by next week, which is amazing. I mean, this is so fast. And they really want to move forward. They were saying that, it's an election year, and the people want to look good. They want to look like they're on top of it. So this is really cool. I have a really good feeling about this grant, and we'll be letting you know real quickly as soon as we know something. I think that's about all. There's been a lot going on. CD and I went to a TDM workshop the other, Texas Department of Emergency Management, and it was about disaster recovery and the importance of reporting and doing all this stuff. So we're showing up at all these things. It's really important to show up. And it was valuable information. I've talked to David Marshall about, record keeping. So they stressed it so much. But anyway, it was good information, and we're trying to be on top of all of that stuff. Okay, that's it for my report. I'm going to move on to the update, the discussion action on GLO MIT grant and property acquisition. This is the $11.5 million grant. I talked to both the engineer and our grant administrator, and I told them what the timeline is, what we have to do in order to get this done. And they said, yes, go ahead and start working on our first phase of property acquisition. So I'll be working closely with Marion and the IPOA to schedule readings at council meetings and setting up what that needs to look like. We can work with the grant administrator and see how we have to do all this stuff. But it's time to move forward.
Have they identified what they're going to need and with regard to
in
dirt?
In the actual grant application, there was a description of the property to be acquired. And then this is where we can, look at detail, and negotiate and see this works, this doesn't. And nothing is chiseled in stone. But it's time to move forward with the acquisition of the property for the first phase so that we're ready when the actual work starts, we have to have had that property acquisition by then.
Yeah, we have already identified, we have to
Oh, yeah.
acquire the lake bed itself and the downstream side, so
On the downstream, it's not the lake bed.
Well, the lake itself, though. The lake itself isn't required?
No. We're talking about Camelot.
Oh, Camelot, apologies.
Okay, yeah.
I'm stuck on Lake
Yeah,
Ivanhoe.
Yeah, that's
My bad.
through phase 3. Phase 1 is Camelot.
Was there a question in there?
I can make one.
Anyway, I just wanted to kind of update you on that. And like I say, I'll be working with the IPOA and on scheduling, those readings and figuring out what it actually has to look like.
So we're talking about property acquisition on Camelot?
On Camelot. Yeah, we have to own the downstream part. So,
Oh, yeah, where all those big pines are.
anyway, okay, number 3, consider for discussion action amendment number 1 to the financial policy on the GLO grant implementation. Actually, they were asking us to change the turnaround time to issue checks and make payments out of the GLO funds from 5 days to 3 days. And CD, answered and said, that really does not work for us, especially since we have Mondays off, and there can be something come in that's deposited, and it's a direct deposit into account to pay something out, and we don't get back to the office until Tuesday, and it can just really, be a problem. So he went back and forth because we thought we put it on the agenda. And Jill's response, that's our grant administrator, was that I was trying to look at Jill's, was that we, considering the circumstance and the way, it's already 5 days. And so we really didn't have to have a resolution right now to put it down to 3 days. We'd just leave it at 5 days. If there's, and Andrew Harmon, who's our local GLO rep, is looking into the further details to make sure that we're okay with just remaining with the 5-day turnaround.
5-day turnaround is unheard of anyway.
Oh, I know. Isn't it crazy? And they're yeah. But anyway. And there have been instances, we got our hands slapped because they had deposited money into an account and we didn't know it.
Ooh,
And how are you supposed to, and they wanted the money to go out real quickly. Well, if we didn't know it was there. And we were waiting for it. Okay, consider for discussion action Supervisor Dams report. I'm so glad you're still here, Rusty.
And Wake.
Yeah.
you need any help getting up here?
Mayor, City Council, not much happening with the dams. in case you have
I think it's not on.
Is it on?
Okay. Got it right? Yeah.
Just speak into it.
We did have Chance Construction scheduled to come out the first week of February, but due to inclement weather, they chose not to come out during that week. That was the week of predicted heavy rains and then severe freezing and all this stuff. And most of the rain didn't show up, but the freezing weather came. He said he'd call me back when he had another projection, but he hasn't done that yet. And next week, from what I've seen, doesn't look dry. It appears to be going to be another wet week. Every time it gets warm, it gets wet. It gets cold, it gets clear. Getting tired of it like everybody else. The work, is the work about finished? It looks like it's wrapping up on the downstream side of Tristan.
Yeah, they're finishing up today, be done tomorrow for sure. All the trees will be off the Tristan Dam on the Charmaine side of it,
Except one.
Except for that cypress.
except
Well,
for Cypress.
the
and we're not-
cypress, what do you want to do with the cypress?
I don't have
We're
a
gonna leave
problem
it.
with it.
Okay, me
Uh,
either.
Well, okay. Question, why are we leaving it?
Because it's a nice tree.
It's a nice tree.
Well, probably a
it's
lot of those
cypress.
And
trees
it's
were
not
nice.
hurting anybody.
Yeah. I like cypress.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'd leave the cypress, frankly.
Okay.
I like it.
It's
It's a
consensus
tree.
here.
It's by itself. The beavers like cypress, from what I've heard.
Exactly, that's
So-
one of the reasons it's like, why
So-
are we
No,
leaving
you
it?
don't get rid of
Okay,
the
did you have a beaver report for us, or do you know?
Only that they're here. They're going back and forth between Charmaine and Tristan.
Okay.
APOA said there have been 5 of them trapped.
Oh, really?
Big
Yeah.
ones.
Good.
Yep.
Good deal. Good. I'd heard one big one got captured, or whatever they did with it.
They drowned them.
Good. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's the way that used to be done.
Yeah.
That's all I have on the dams. I'll shut up so y'all can carry on, and I don't know all that much about IT.
I want to thank David Marshall. They did clean out Galahad on the Charmaine side, those 2 corners.
Yes, they
And
did.
they're going to do some more cleaning out for us as soon as they get a moment. It's a lot better. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Rusty?
No.
Thank you, Rusty.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. And thank you, Will.
You're welcome.
Report on municipal court activity. Total fines and court costs collected, $1,234. Total fines retained by the city, $893.46. Total court costs sent to the state, $340.54. Year-to-date fines collected is $4,793. And previous year-to-date was $2,208. That's basically the numbers part of her report. Okay. City Marshal Office activity. Deputy Drum.
All right. January report, officer received a total of 98 calls for service. Calls for service could be anything from self-initiated activities, alarms, motorist assist, animal calls, suspicious activities, house watches, loud noise complaints, agency assist, assist in other agencies, harassment calls, and then some code enforcement things, just to name a few of the activity calls we've had. Officers assisted other law enforcement agencies with canine searches, and sometimes if a call happens outside the city, then we have actually gone out and backed up that unit, secured the scene until they got there, and then would actually take over the scene from there, because we happen to be the closest part. Let's see here. 18 calls from the Tyler County Sheriff's Office. We've had several calls come in. I've got 9 open investigations at the moment. Thankfully, we were actually down on calls this last month due to the weather. We've had 3 officers down that were sick with COVID and the flu. And our goal is to be transparent in everything that's happening throughout our city and community so you can be aware and be vigilant. We are confident in our city and our community to help us fight when needed. We've had several city members actually reach out to us with information on things, and without our city and community help, then we would all fall. As always, we thank you for your continued support. We have your back, and we know that you have ours. Sincerely, Terry Riley, Chief Marshal. One of the other things that he asked me to go over real quick is the quote that you have for the camera through JT's LEDs. And this is actually to put an additional camera in the third vehicle that we have. When the first 2 came out, the third vehicle was just going to be a backup vehicle. And then when I got back and I came on full time, doing a lot of the investigation work and things like that, doing patrol, having that additional camera in there, because all we have is just a standardized camera with no audio recording to it itself right now. So if I'm outside the video or outside the vehicle, if I'm interviewing somebody, because a lot of times I may go to Jasper to interview or Kirbyville to interview, Spurger to interview, such as the last major case that was in the paper that y'all saw. Having that in-car camera actually helps, and it backs up the body cam that we may have as well. Also, when I'm doing traffic in the city, having that would actually be able to record the traffic stops itself. So Chief Riley did put together a quote through JT's LEDs of what it would take to actually go ahead and put in a new camera system into that vehicle so that it's the same as what's in the other two, and then that keeps all of our vehicles the same. So if I was to get into his car or they get into my car, if one of them went down, then they would all be operation on the same capacity.
Okay, he put together an estimate.
Yes, sir. Did they get a copy of it? Okay, yeah, they all have a copy of the quote.
Must be in the packet. I don't have a hard copy. That's okay.
Here, I'll
That's
pass it
okay.
around for you. And that's gonna be a turnkey job there.
Ah. There you go. Thank you.
Any questions for the marshal's office?
Thank you for your
Thank you,
service.
Stephen.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, consider for discussion and action, Public Works report.
All right, are we gonna make a motion on that camera system or not?
I have no information about it, John.
Oh, okay,
I had
wasn't on
no
the
prior
agenda.
knowledge.
okay, we can wait.
Sounds like a great
Are we
idea,
ready?
but
Good evening. Several things here, but I'll make it very short.
Give it to the mayor. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay.
Apologies.
Will, you're very welcome. We'll get those others here on Charmaine just as soon as we have time. We have started out with a very good year at the Public Works, and we're proud of it. And I have members of council and mayor to thank for the good start that we've got going. You mentioned the pole barn and the price that we were able to get it for. Instead of just a roof, we were able to get 3 sides, a back, a top. We even got a concrete floor in the biggest bay there so we can service our vehicles on bad rainy days like we did today. That definitely helps production instead of just riding around and seeing where the water's flooding. A special thank you to Councilman Blackstone. You came in, you took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and I'm so glad that you did. Found us a phenomenal price break on the materials, and thanks to you, we were able to get everything that we've got, so we appreciate it. Also, council, mayor, we also picked up our new mower Tuesday, I think, and it is a commercial grade mower. We've already tried it out, and we will definitely be able to do some damage on the sides of these roadways and keep them clearer than we were able to with the brush hog. It's just a much neater finished look.
Did you say it was a bad boy?
Yes, I did. Are you calling me a bad boy? Was it a bad
It's a
boy?
big dog.
Yes. It's a good one. It should last us many, many years. Also, CD's not here. I don't mean anything by this, but I certainly want to appreciate him and tell a big thank you to CD for finally getting our septic system fixed. It's not leaking all over the yard, and the guys don't have to walk through it to get to the equipment anymore. That's going to take place, I believe, starting this week. They're supposed to come out and take care of that.
You think the porta potty might have helped it along?
I think the porta potty's getting old. It's very hot. It's about to be very cold. Nobody will have to be using the porta potty because they don't want to go in there when it's cold. All of this, believe it or not, even the septic, helps our production level. The pole barn was able to get 99% of all of the equipment that we have, which added up, it's over $200,000. It is all now protected. So that's a big step. Greatly appreciated. Production-wise, this time last year, on pending work orders, we were in the neighborhood of somewhere around 80. Now, so far, even with the 3-month delay on building the detour, we lived through that. At this point in time, we are down to 28 pending work orders. Keep your fingers crossed and keep your ears plugged, because if we actually catch up, you will hear me holler from one side of town to the other. That's our goal. We're not going to quit until we get there. Other than that, and me being happy and wanting to do a dance, thank
Well,
y'all for
go ahead,
everything.
David. Go
What?
ahead. You're in camera.
No,
Go ahead,
no, no.
Do your
I
dance.
got a cramp. I better not. I better not. Before I close, one thing that I'll be happy to answer questions, and I don't want to get into anything further, but the construction that's going on Sherwood West, because of the weather, because of some plant breakdowns where they get their material, they're running about 3 days behind at this point. This all brings us to the detour, the word we thought we'd never have to say again, but I think we've got it planned out very well. I know it's gone on the front sign, maybe a little premature, but I would like to have everybody that comes in and out see what's coming. We didn't put a specific start date. We just, the week of the 21st, which will be next Monday.
Are they
80%.
actually working on Monday? It's a holiday.
They won't be working because of the rain. It's like another 80 or 90%.
They wouldn't have been working
chance.
anyway. It's a holiday.
Okay. I don't know. Those guys, I don't think they know what holiday is. But I feel confident that they will get started on the end of Galahad Dam sometimes next week. From what they tell me, we're looking at somewhere 2 to 3 weeks max, maybe a lot shorter. Detour, you can look online. It's posted there with a map. But right now, do y'all have any questions about the detour? I can't tell you an exact date when it's going to start, but I think we're in the process of notifying the Tyler County Dispatch, the school districts, and so forth for the school buses. So everybody should be made aware of it. If you have any suggestions that you think would help, I'll happily take the suggestions.
I don't have a suggestion, but is Sir Robert Burns open from Avenue Estates all the way to Durwood?
Yes,
So that
yes.
people get stuck, they'll know where to go to.
They won't get stuck.
Well, if they come the wrong way, they can't go through the intersection. Yeah.
Right. Now, that's just it. That's why we didn't use Charmaine South.
Yeah.
It's Camelot, across the dam, Durwood. From there, you can go either way to get to Galahad Loop.
Okay.
No questions?
Thank you, David.
Good. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Report on monthly code enforcement activity, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
She's doing an amazing job, by the way.
Okay. Well, I hate getting up here. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I try to be short and sweet and get the heck out of here. But I always forget. The mayor's always complimenting on what a great job I'm doing, but it's only with the effort of other people. And some of those people are like John Craven. He's helped me tremendously with the code enforcement. Officer Steve Drum. I don't know how many times I've had to call him and ask him questions, or we have different calls that's come in for the police department and different things like that. Of course, Public Works. I've called them. I probably got them on speed dial. Yeah. So between people calling in, needing stuff done, and then us personally needing stuff done, I mean, him and his crew, they've been awesome. So also, Ms. Blackstone with the IPOIA. You don't know how many times I've had to call her or text her and say, hey, do you have a number for this person? Because we have nothing else on them, you know. So anyway, I just want to thank all those people. This month, I made, because I know you guys like pictures, so I made it easy. Before and after pictures, a couple of the properties, just to give you an idea of what's been going on. We've closed 12 cases this month. Since the last meeting, we've sent out 37 cards this month, and we have 9 administrative warrants that we're planning on delivering those tomorrow, if everything goes well, if the weather holds out and all that. So if not, we're going to do that at the first of next week. But administrative warrants, I don't know how much you know about those, but it's usually a lot of junk vehicles, being able to actually go on the property, put a big old sticker on it and say, hey, you got so many days to either take care of this, or then we get to come in and take it out of there. But there's several steps, and the numbers may not sound that big, but when you get into it, I didn't realize how hard it was to me. If there's junk out there, you go tell them, hey, there's junk out there, pick it up. But sometimes you have to do 5, 10, 15 steps to get to that point to actually get them to do it. Sometimes I can just send them a blue card and they're all willing to pick it up because they're worried about getting fines. But the ones that don't, like I said, we have 9 we're planning on serving tomorrow or the beginning next week, depending on the weather. So I think that's about it.
Thank you, Jackie.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Consider for discussion action, Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations. Councilman Craven.
Yes, at the last P and Z meeting, it was decided to reinstate the 17-day ordinance on the travel trailers. With that being said, this reason for that is to help law enforcement. When we took that out, they had no meat to go after anybody. But all that being said, between myself, Jackie, Judge Rader, a few others, Skip, we feel we really need a workshop with the city council and P&Z to talk about some of these ordinances that we cannot enforce. And we either need to change the wording, or take it out, or do something. But why have something that we can't enforce? And our thoughts were we just have a workshop, bring these ordinances to the table, and have a discussion about them.
It's a good idea.
When would you like to do that, John?
I'm ready. 2 weeks ago. Everybody, if you would, look at the calendar. Now, I know you got down here at Town Hall, but I don't think we want to coordinate it with that also.
Oh, no.
Right.
No.
So, I mean, obviously, next week, you know, we got the,
We're going to have to comply with the Open Meetings Act if multiple council members are there.
Oh, yeah, it would be,
yeah.
Okay.
it would be an open meeting. All of it has to be an open meeting. Okay, did you have suggestions, John?
Well, I don't think next week would be a good week for any of us with the garage sale and all like that.
What about 2 weeks out on March 3rd?
I'm open. Works for me.
March 3rd works for me.
Before we cement that cement that in place, Mayor, what's the topic on the town hall meeting? Is that just a general town hall, or do we have a specific pressing issue that we need to be able
It's
to get
been
going?
a long time, David, since we've had our community together.
So we just need to-
and especially with things that are going on now with grants and everything.
Sure.
And so there's several things that we'd like to, talk with people about.
Very good.
And when is that?
Town hall, it's later on in the agenda to set a date, but
Yeah,
we're talking right now
okay.
about the workshop
Okay.
that John is proposing for Thursday, March 3rd.
Okay.
What time would we be looking at?
For the workshop? 6 PM,
So it's-
Could we
standard meeting time.
Could we do it any earlier?
That'd be- my concern is I've got a little bit of a court fight that afternoon, looks
Oh.
like. So I'm sure by 6 I'd be free.
Okay.
I'd be nervous to do it any earlier.
Okay. Does that work for everyone?
Mhm.
6 PM?
works for me.
Okay. Plan on staying for a while. You get that many people talking?
Yeah, but we need to have it. We really do.
Oh, yeah, no question. I'm assuming that we'll be showing up with a list of things to look at.
Yes.
Right.
We were working with Valerie. She's good at that.
Oh, she's amazing. Okay. No, is there anything else, John, that you wanted to?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you, John, appreciate it. And really, Valerie, thank you for all you do. And thank you for Valerie is the one that came up with the project for our $5 million grant that we submitted, and she did an amazing job. Everybody was totally blown away. Anyway, moving right along, consider for discussion action change order number 1 for bond construction work per LJA Engineering. And I am going to, this happened while I was gone, and Tommy was there with them, and so I'm going to turn it over for him to explain what transpired.
David Marshall might be a better person, but I will tell you that when we did the first, looking at this project, we included the intersections of Ivanhoe State and Nottingham. But when we got the information from the engineers, it was not on there. So we had to put that back on there, as well as there's some problems with mailboxes, I think, on Sherwood Forest, where people have been driving off apparently a little further off the road than they should be, so they're going to put some asphalt over there on those. And I think those were the only things, but that's what we had to add.
And we did get squared away with them on the drainage pipe there at the dam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at Lakewood, at the Galahad Dam, we have to drain that. There is no drain there, so we're putting that culvert across the berm so it'll drain into Charmaine,
Good.
or the side that will actually drain into Charmaine.
Good. Okay, we need approval of this change order. Tommy, you want to make that in the form of a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we change order number 1 for the bond road work on Sherwood Forest West, and Lakewood.
Is that clear?
Be approved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
Do we have a total cost for
Yeah.
that change order?
Yeah. It's $25,121.18. But yeah, those intersections definitely need to be included.
Mhm.
So anyway, any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Tommy. Number 12, consider discussion action contract modification extension with local sanitation. Have you all had a chance to look at the local sanitation letter and agreement, or an agreement that they submitted? Local sanitation has been able to provide services with only one annual 2% cost adjustment over the past 5 years. And we really have gotten good service from them, and they have only gone up a very minimal amount. Their contract is up on April 1st, and so it's time to re-up the agreement with them. Do I hear a motion to enter into this contract between local sanitation and the city of Ivanhoe?
How much did they go up?
Okay, local sanitation will charge a rate of $17.07 plus $2.47 franchise fee, plus 8.25% tax, for a total of $21.15. So it's less than $1, right? I can't remember exactly. Mine goes on my credit card every month.
I make a motion that we accept their proposed price rate increase
I'll second.
And approve the contract for an additional 5 years.
and approve the contract for an additional 5 years.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, ma'am.
Okay, consider a discussion action appointment or reappointment of Judith Haney as court judge. Judith Haney has been our judge since day one, and she is now an associate judge because Kathy Rader is our judge. And she handles all the magistration. And so it's necessary to renew her contract every year. And so I would like to entertain a motion to
I'll
renew
make
the
a motion
contract.
that we reappoint Judith Haney as our court judge.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consider for discussion action financial report. I'm going to read to you what?
CD's not here, and he told me that we could put it off till next month.
Well, we can.
He told me that as well.
Yeah, he told me that as well.
I make a motion, we postpone this part of the agenda till next month.
I second that motion.
Okay, the only thing David,
I'm sorry.
okay, the only thing I want to go over with y'all is the conversation we had this morning with the auditor.
Okay.
Well, we don't even have to go over it, actually. It's in his report. You promised to read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just, yeah. Because we have been dealing with the QuickBooks Online really is not generating the reports necessary for the auditor. So we're having to pay the auditing company some extra money to just bring us, to get the reports that are needed for the audit. And
So that was one of the things that the city of Jasper brought to the table with Michael Ramsey, is the software that they use is Cassel, C-A-S-S-E-L. Huh? Cassel.
Yeah.
My bad. Cassel. And CD has forwarded that to the auditors and the bookkeepers to see
Yeah.
if they're okay with that.
Well, right now, what they're suggesting is that we go ahead back with QuickBooks desktop and not the one online. That's where we had the problems. Anyway, we had a long discussion with the auditors, and we think we have a solution for right now. Then later on, we may look at some additional software.
So we're going to go backwards.
No, we're not going backwards, because what they're doing is going to be setting it up to where those reports, they can be generated in a form that the where it will actually be easier for the auditors, the way they're going to set it up, because the way we were doing it was, we set up all these different accounts, and I guess it can be done under, within fewer accounts. And what happens is the cost of the audit will actually be going down, because the reports that they're going to be able to generate, even with QuickBooks, it's just we weren't doing it as efficiently as we could have.
And
Well, I don't think he was even able to get some of the ones that he needed for tracking the grant dollars.
Well,
And that's a big deal.
oh, that's huge, and that's one of the things that they're looking at, because we're coming up with two grants that are, basically $20 million, and we have to have all of that accounting done properly. We're looking at them possibly handling part of a member of the firm doing actually the accounting. This is something
and
we'll
that's
discuss.
Kyle Heineman,
Yes.
$800 a month, $9,600 per year.
Yeah, to actually be our accountant.
Oh, okay.
And then the other part of the firm would be our auditor. And then there would be absolutely no question about whether the reports were acceptable for an audit and uncomplicated.
Okay, so what do you want to
We're
do
all
with that
learning.
little piece of information?
Well, I just want everybody to be aware of it.
Okay.
We'll handle it later, but I
Okay.
just wanted to let you all know what was going on. So just pay attention to what CD wrote out, because he pretty much put
Gotcha.
detail into it. Okay, scheduled town hall meeting. Our town hall meetings usually work best on Saturdays because of our weekend folks being able to be here. Like I say, we haven't had a town hall meeting since before COVID. And it's time to do that.
Okay.
Again, let's look at calendars, and we definitely won't be until March, maybe.
Brad, does that fall under open meetings?
Oh, yeah.
So we got,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
And
Right.
so you have to create an agenda. You can't talk about anything except what's on the agenda.
Mhm.
And we'll make sure that whatever it is that we feel we need to discuss is on that agenda so we can handle that. But it's important for our public to be able to ask us questions and to have conversations with them. Would maybe the 19th of March?
Sure.
Sure.
How does that look for everybody?
If
Okay.
it's good for Mr. Harrington, it's
And
good for
I
me.
think
I'm
around,
not available that day.
when would you be available, Will?
26th.
26th. That's fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Works for me.
Does it work for everybody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, let's schedule the 26th. Do you want to do 10 a.m. like they do for the association meetings?
Okay.
Are you bringing breakfast?
We could have donuts. We could have something. We'll look at that. But 10 o'clock on Saturday, March 26th. All right. Okay. Might be good if I put in there what it is, right? If I don't put things in my calendar immediately, guess what happens?
That'll be one of the good things that will come with having Office 365 is that we'll be able to send meeting requests that will go automatically on
That
your
is
calendar.
nice. That's really nice. I miss that from my corporate days.
Yeah, me, myself.
Okay, consider the session action update on relating to Ontiveroz legal proceeding. I don't think there's anything, is there?
There actually is.
Oh, there is.
For executive session.
Okay. Okay, consider for discussion, we'll do item number 18, consider for discussion action employee handbook updates. And we were just having problems with some of the verbiage on that personal time off, and it was vague. And so Jackie has done us the favor of coming up with the proper verbiage. It's in your package. We already approved the additional time off. So it's just changing the verbiage in the actual handbook. And she gave everybody a copy of that, so
Okay.
there isn't really any action to be taken because we had already taken the action to
Okay.
add the vacation time. The other thing, we have an addendum to our regular meeting. And so we're going to go into closed session for this also. Addendum, consider for discussion action acquisition of certain commercial property in the city. So these two items are what we're going to go into executive session in regard to. It is 7:42 p.m. So we'll recess until we are finished. Are we back? Are we on? Okay. We are resuming our meeting at 8:45 PM. We have met with our attorney regarding the Ontiveroz case, and he gave us an update on that. There's nothing else to report, but we do realize that we have to change the date of our workshop that we're going to be doing for P&Z, for planning and zoning, and we're changing that to the 16th of March at 6 PM. That's a Wednesday.
From the 3rd.
From the 3rd, yes. Is there anything else? Council comments? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:46.
Hey, it's been fun. Good luck.